Hey everyone, welcome to The Grind, another episode on Zoom. And this week we are talking about an awesome message that we heard from Sam. He spoke about I am the true vine. Basically, Jesus saying that he is the true vine, not Sam being the true vine, but you guys get what I mean.
Yeah, because that would be blasphemy.
I know. And since when is Patrina ever blasphemous? Anyways, pass to Patrina. All right, so I thought those questions that they ask in youth group about what type of fruit you are, describe yourself and why. So I'm gonna do that right now, being ex-youth pastor and everything. So if you could describe yourself as a fruit, what would it be and why?
I'm a young coconut, like a coconut.
A coconut.
A hard shell on the outside, but a softie on the inside.
Oh, you never know whether you're gonna get a young one or an old one.
I don't know.
So many layers to Rico.
Depending on the day, it's an old Rico we're encountering.
Yeah.
And then if he watches Titanic, it gets all watery.
And it's a very soft.
I'm going to say what I've always said is that I'm a banana because I'm yellow on the outside and white on the inside.
Wow. Classic.
It just happened. I didn't ask to be this way, but it just happened.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go with durian. Just because it takes a while to get to know me and get to know the true me. A lot of getting into, and once you get to see me for who I am, maybe you might like me and maybe you don't. And that's okay.
And Patrina is like a mile away.
Yeah, we can smell you coming from a mile away.
Well, also, I mean, it's true. People can hear me from a mile away, but I think I still smell pleasant enough to not people be like, huh, So, Sam said, I was talking about, Jesus being a true vine, and, whoever abides in him will bear much fruit. Apart from him, you can do nothing. And actually, and I think when you understand the love of Christ, it reflects in your life and how you treat other people. And actually, my question is what does it look like to bear fruit in your life? I think in the way I would see it is, I think I think bearing fruit in my life would look as though people were encouraged, people were empowered. Because I think going back to what I strongly believe in is, helping people to, live out their calling and understand who they are in Christ. And I think, if they are able to do that, to understand who they are and to live out, a life for Christ, through their interactions with me, then I think that would look like fruit in my life.
Maybe at this point in time, bearing fruit is like being productive in the areas which I serve in. So right now it's like, if I can help us produce church online that helps bring people closer to God, or helps them meet with God at the weekend, then that for me is bearing fruit. Or if I'm serving on worship team and we're in service and we can actually feel the presence of God during worship, then that is also bearing fruit, I guess. I guess it's more just being productive and producing something good that helps people connect with God.
I think for me, bearing fruit would be when I'm able to put in Jesus in conversations with my friends, especially those who do not know him yet, and eventually they start asking questions, and I think it's a good thing because it's not as difficult as it's gonna be anymore, since they're starting to become more initiative, they initiate that conversation.
Nice.
And I think that one is something that I try to kind of I know it's a good conversation we had, but it's one thing about Jesus. And I think it encourages me in a way that having simple conversations with them can bring up God in that. And
That's true. Cool. Yeah. Awesome. So that's kind of cool. just like how fruit looks differently in your lives. And I mean, it's true, right? If everyone like, bore the same fruit, it'll be kind of boring. If the entire world only had durians, I mean, I will be happy, but
I mean, it would get to a certain point where it'd just be useless.
I mean, you just have to assimilate, but hey, I'm just saying. But yeah, anyways, it's awesome that, I think when we bear fruit for Jesus, it looks different. And I like what Sam said is that basically we got like a bio lesson from Sam about what it looks like, what grafting looks like, and how, actually when Jesus asks us to abide in him, it's an invitation to carry his DNA. And the whole idea of like grafting is like, the fruit grown from cuttings is to guarantee that we're genetically identical to the parent plant. So basically like Jesus wants us to carry his DNA. And so the whole idea of abiding is like remaining, staying and waiting in Jesus. And, so I think like also during the grafting process, and like what Sam said, during the grafting process, the abiding process, the branch is vulnerable. And I suppose like, we've all been in, situations where our relationship with God is vulnerable. And we shared about that last week about how like, in college you were, all whatever. And I think one thing that held us, through was community. Community helped us through. Right. Now, obviously, I think it's safe to say that our relationship with God has our ups and downs, and especially being people working in ministry. What I'm sure also, and being highly involved in ministry, and not just for us. I think this is relevant for anyone who's like, working as well as like, very involved in ministry. We will eventually meet burnout at some point. So my next question to you guys is, how did burnout look in your life, and how did you come out of it?
Well, burnout for me, I think it hit me after a few years of serving on the worship team, but then I was also working a full-time job at the time, outside of ministry. So I was volunteering and then going back to a Monday to Friday, and then serving at the weekend, and then just repeating like that. And it was fine until it wasn't. Like I was almost on autopilot, and that was kind of that's maybe the first sign that something is not going well, because I was just convincing myself, it's fine, I'm not tired, it's fine, and then you crash. But how I got out of that was actually just like a period of rest and knowing that I had boundaries and limits.
Whenever I'm in the state of doing things more of like a task rather than doing it out of because I like doing things, then I think I'm already in that stage of I'm burning out, because you're achieving based on performance. Is that how you say it? Rather than you're achieving based on like, because I want to reach out to the community, I want to be able to speak out to the people who have volunteered and tried to serve with us. When it comes to that point, then I would realize, there's something wrong here. I need to do something. And that's when I usually come by and just, usually I would say and pray to God and say like, Lord, forgive me. It seems that lately I've been being more of like, just do the task and then we're done, rather than reach out to the people that you actually care about and be compassionate. So when it comes to these kind of situations, I would run back and go for my quiet time and just going back to that first love, sort of, and just ask for guidance on how do you actually kind of balance the things that you really need to do, but at the same time being able to reach out to the community. So that's true, right? Like I like what you said, going back to your first love, Jesus, because even that's what Sam shared in his message. It's like, it's all about Jesus, not about like bearing fruit. I think if your end goal is just about bearing fruit and not Jesus, then there's a problem right there, because when you bear fruit, it should be out of a byproduct of your relationship with Jesus. I would say my story is in a way somewhat similar to Nathan, because even before coming on to working full-time at church, I was also doing a full-time job as a teacher. And so that time I was kind of doing teacher. I felt like a full-time job, because even though it was technically like sometimes part-time, but the things it's only part-time because I left like work a little bit earlier. But I was basically
doing teaching and youth pastor at the same time. It's like almost I didn't necessarily have a day off, and I just was so incredibly tired for those 2 years. And I think my problem is sometimes I think I'm a lot more capable than I actually am. That I have no limits. I can do everything. I'm fine. I guess one would say my motto is fine. So anyways, yeah, so I think what got a point where it's like I just had to say no to stuff and realize like, I physically cannot do everything that I think I can. And sometimes it also has friends. It helps have friends to tell you like, Pet, kind of need to just not do stuff. And sometimes it helps because again, where community is important, right? They provide the perspective that you lack. Like also another thing that Sam said is that like, okay, so we talk about like abiding in Christ, whoever abides in will bear much fruit, but realistically speaking, can we always bear much fruit, right? We've all seen that if we try to keep going, our fruit is just going to be like, because we're just so tired, burned out and stuff like that. So yeah, sometimes we just never really we never think about that. And so Sam talked about there are times that we need to recharge and, again, not about the fruit, it's about Jesus. And also like, sometimes we can feel guilty about being in a place of like rest because it's like, oh, but I guess maybe it's like the Asian culture, you gotta go. Like when you talk about resting, you gotta be busy. Like, yes, it's good to be busy, but also it's important to have rest, but also important in that you don't stay there indefinitely. So this will be my last question to us is which stage do you feel that you're at?
I think seeing as we're towards the end of working at home, then it's kind of like coming out of rest and being ready to serve and be fruitful again, I guess, because we've had this time to stay at home, not really interact much with anyone. Church has been on pause, so in terms of the regular routine, that has been very much paused, and I've been able to rest. So now it's like it's time to get going again. And in a way, I'm kind of looking forward to like being busy again and doing stuff. Yeah, because there's only so much time I can spend in these four walls.
I think pretty similar with Nathan. I think we're in a stage already that we've sort of kind of like, let's just say I've brainstormed as much as I can now, and it's time to be a bit more active, take more action in the things that you've been thinking about, planning to do. Even though we're resting, I feel like it is also a stage where you could be able to kind of sort of like come up with new ideas and see where the Lord would want you to go. And so for me, it's more of like taking action and seeking new ways of trying to adapt with our new season and our new.
I think it's been a season of reformatting for me, because you gotta learn how to do things differently, right? I think again the pandemic has just thrown the world off balance. Like what's the new norm? How do you do this? How do you do ministry? And especially like living by yourself, and also like having the time of your not the time of your life, the time this time on your hands. Sorry, I'm like, why am I thinking the time of my life? And then so it's not the time of my life, but the time on my hands. And I think it's just like reworking like what is important, priorities, assessing like what should I pursue, how to organize my day. And so in a sense, like the way I have done stuff has definitely been reformatted. And I feel like reformatting is always going to be a huge part of my life in terms of like always, improving, because I don't want to be like just, stagnant, right? I want to be like the, Patrina, whatever 10.0 at some point, it's like basically it's like always getting better. So yeah, that's been a season of reformatting and kind of just living each format out and see, what works, what doesn't work, So I think that would be that for me.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Reformat.
Yes, reform Pet. Okay, all right. I'm done. I know, I am definitely.
Oh, Pet's got jokes today.
She is. Yep, on fire. See, you gotta crack open a deer and shell to get all this, good stuff coming out, or keep it in. Some people might not really like it, so, Okay. Okay, with that being said, thanks for joining us on the grind, and hope wherever you're at, whatever season you find yourselves in. I think I just want to land on this is to continue to abide in Jesus, and I think as you abide in Him, you will find that you could be in a season of bearing fruit, or you could be in a season of grafting. I think just as long as you continue to lean into the leading of the Spirit, I think you will know where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, hope you're encouraged. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.
Next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Care.